I'm Bill Zanowitz,
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
and we are your hairy heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy heavy homo to listen in or possibly stream in. We're back with you for a second time on a Sunday because concerts are getting in the way, and that's a good thing. Going out and being social is a good thing. So
it is.
And I have to say, guys, I kind of like these Sunday nights. I'm like,
it's nice because we're not, because we're not like in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
it like towards the end of the
no
week,
bags
we're all just
under
like
our eyes, you know.
Yeah, we're not getting done at midnight.
Yeah. After having a really long week and yet still having one more day.
So we'll see how this goes. Maybe there's something we should talk about. But I've been enjoying prepping on a Sunday better than prepping on a Thursday.
Yeah,
it's been far more enjoyable. But
it's been lovely.
How you guys doing?
Doing good. I'm doing good. How about you, Caleb?
Just blessed and highly favored.
I saw you took a trip around Arkansas. I saw you went to Searcy, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I did. So work took me on the road a little bit this past week. So drove up to Searcy, did some education stuff up there, and got to take a tour and see kind of what they're doing up there in relation to some of the area around Little Red River, some of the stuff the city's making available for recreational stuff. Went up to Russellville, was kind of just expecting to go up there and, talk to the mayor and hang out and talk, discuss a few things with him because life is weird. I ended up having a conversation in a swamp with one of Arkansas's 2 federal senators, talking about housing and crashing a retirement party for a firefighter and just doing a whole bunch of other stuff that I was not expecting to do. And so,
to explain your tattoo.
Yeah, so anytime you have one of the 100 United States senators who's asking you about your Cthulhu tattoo, your day has gone strange. So improvise, adapt, and overcome. I just kind of rolled with it. I had to call my big boss. I was like, hey, I was expecting to spend all day outside, so I'm wearing short sleeves and walking through a swamp, and our senator's here, so just heads up, you may get a weird question. So, but no, everything went cool. Good week at work, just super busy.
That's awesome. I can just picture somebody like you're one of those senators in an upcoming, budget discussion where they're trying to filibuster. And it's like, I met a young man who had a tattoo, and this tattoo was about Cthulhu, but it was also about another young man. And it was,
well,
see.
In all fairness, this one's the more reasonable of the two. I'm trying not to say anything that will get me fired. It may just end up getting Cthulhu on a banned book list. I don't know. So I may have just caused all of Lovecraft to get taken off the shelf. Who knows?
It's the little ripples, the pebbles, little ripples in the pond.
Yeah. So look, obviously not bringing politics into anything or speaking one way or other. They were there because our federal delegation was able to get some federal money to help rebuild a bridge that's going to serve this community very well. It's a very good thing. It's a good use of tax dollars. So was happy to be a part of that. So
that's great. That's really cool. I don't know. Bill did some had some concerts and things.
Yeah,
and
did some stuff.
Yeah, did some stuff.
Nothing professional. It's just work from home bullshit. I do have some day trip. I do have some day trips coming up.
Cool.
To one of our offices, and I actually did go in the office very briefly on Friday, and my head just wasn't there, and I had a T-shirt on, but the people I was meeting had T-shirts on too, so it was something very quick. So all good there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in terms of news, I don't think there's much in the realm of comic book news. The one thing I did want to mention, though, is, a few weeks ago, Daredevil #1 by Stephanie Phillips, written by Stephanie Phillips, came out. Did very well in the sales, did fairly well in critical reactions. I did want to pick it up, because, one of the big changes is that Matt Murdock is a law professor now. And I really wanted to see how that worked. And, that's that's an area of life that both Caleb and myself are familiar with.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see how it was handled, but it was sold out at the store that I went to. And it's kind of strange, but I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like I was a little late on the bus, but like these books are selling well enough. I'm sure I could go to another shop and there's plenty of copies, when there's this much advanced orders. But the one thing connected to the news with that I thought was really encouraging about where our zeitgeist is right now is, of course, you had, the crybaby incel, baby sissy men, complaining even before one page of this came out, that a woman, was writing Daredevil. And the backlash against that was very quick. And from some sites you may not have anticipated, some creators actually were a bit on the right came to, set the record straight. It's like, you'll live, you'll live. But I do want to get it, but I didn't pre-order it because it was like, oh, another new Marvel #1. I thought the blind bag especially for a concept like Daredevil, is very novel. And I do wish I had pre-ordered. And I think, Steve, you did get a copy?
I did get a copy. I was able to find one locally here. I was not able to get a copy from my normal store that I checked yesterday, but I was able to find some locally here at Sailfish.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what it's going to be for some stores. Some may have ordered according to the demand, and some may have under ordered. So I think that's exactly it. I know if I go to another store, there's going to be copies.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was talking to Tony, who owns, and I've got a cat kind of in front of me right now, who he and his wife own Pennyworths, which is my usual LCS. It's not very local. It's like an hour and 20 minutes away from me. But, he was saying that a lot of the books that you wouldn't expect to fly off the shelves, but they all, every copy that he had ordered completely sold out. And Daredevil was one of them. Batwoman, I think, was also another one where he didn't have any copies left, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and there was a couple other ones too that I had been looking for. I was shocked.
That, the
guy,
guy,
hey, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, the guy I was talking to, the two that really flew off recently were Daredevil and Lobo.
Yeah.
That Lobo was sounded a little better than they anticipated. So
as part of me is just sort of like, oh, but I kind of wanted to buy that. But the other part of me is like, good for them. Good that they are selling. Yeah. They're selling well. People are hopefully
and especially in this market where you're going to might have an 11th printing of something. You will
not
get
everything
your
can
bite
be
at the apple.
Absolute Batman #1. But there's been a lot. There's been a lot of reprintings, especially on the DC side, but some on the Marvel side as well.
On the Marvel side as well, and certainly on the independent side. I think when I was in store, I think I saw the 4th printing of Dork #1.
Yeah.
I think that hit. Yeah. So,
which, I mean, I think you were talking about this last time. Like, it's really cool because one of the reasons they keep reprinting all of is like the absolute, Wonder Woman and stuff like that is because people want the floppies.
Yeah.
They don't just want the collected edition. So yeah, they're the 14th printing of Wonder Woman because somebody wants the floppy, right? Like that's pretty great. Like it just warms your heart a little bit.
Yeah, which is a very big turnaround from
where it used to
be. I'm just thinking of like the last real print sensation, and it seemed, people that were devouring The Walking Dead were doing it through trades and hardcovers. Whereas with this now, it's, people want the single issues, which is cool. But we're here to talk about other comics. And I threw in a laugh, and I think that's very much appropriate given the first book we're going to talk about, because it's a humor-based title, and Steve can go along with it. So
I guess I could talk about that. Well, yeah, I mean, we can jump right into that. So I am a long time subscriber. It's been obviously several years since it's been available in new issues regularly. It had gone from being a monthly magazine that I used to get all the time when I was a kid. Mad Magazine is what I'm talking about. I would just buy it at like the 7-Eleven or convenience store or whatever, just pick it up whenever I could. I had a ton of them. They're all gone. Sad days. And then when I was an adult, I actually subscribed to it. And at that point it was bi-monthly. So 6 times a month or 6 times a year, I was getting a really cool collection of some newer stuff and some older material being reprinted. But eventually DC decided that they were going to stop publishing Mad Magazine regularly and only just do like special issues here and there, which was the case apparently until just recently. And one of the big ways that I think they're probably trying to promote the return of Mad Magazine is, of course, the glorious, and I have the shiny cover, so it's going to look crazy on camera, but it is the Mad About DC, and Bill has his copy as well without the shiny foil cover by Dan Panosian. But I'm going to bring up, if I can, the copy. I have a better picture of it, actually. There we go. Click, 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 and ta-da! Excellent. So I was just overjoyed that this came out, and I got the foil edition just because I loved it. It's a beautiful cover. It is also, I think, $10 cover price for the for this one. Normal price is $8.99, so it's not that big of a difference. But I really, and Bill, would you said something? You're on mute.
Sorry, mine is $7.99.
Yeah, $7.99 for the standard, and then I guess $9.99 or $10 for the $10.99. Sorry, $10.99 for the special Dan Panosian foil cover. But this is just it's one of those things that warms my heart so much to be able to say, hey, I just got a brand new Mad Magazine. And we've had a couple over the past couple of years, a few special issues here and there related to DC and Mad Magazine, which is always fun, getting to see some old reprints of crazy, DC stuff throughout the year, throughout the years, really. And then some new stuff here and there. But this one was a very special initiative in that basically they handed the reins to Chip Zdarsky and said, hey, Chip, have fun. Get a whole bunch of people together for this. We want you to basically edit or put together a brand new all DC character, all DC comic Mad Magazine issue. And he did. And the list of contributors to this is just it's heartwarming, for one, that so many people really wanted to do this, but it's also just fantastic. I mean, you've got Kyle Starks, you've got Jerry Dugan, you've got Tony Moore, you've got Lee Gatlin, you've got Chip Zdarsky himself, of course. You've got Colleen Duran. Colleen motherfucking Duran is doing the art on one of the funnier little short one-pagers in this one. But it's such a fantastic mix. Matt Fraction.
Yeah, I think there's a big writer name you're leaving out.
Well, yeah, give me a list, because there are several more. Seth Meyers, yeah. I mean, seriously, there's so many people who contributed to this, and Mark Russell. I mean, it's just, when you flip through it, it's fun, it's exciting that so many of these big names and big writers, big artists are contributing to something that was a goofy little magazine back from the 50s that lasted for almost 70 years through publisher takeovers and sales and requests to ban and all sorts of things. But in any case, what's in this issue? Well, this issue kind of highlights all the best types of Mad articles that they used to have. So you have a spy versus spy involving Green Lantern. You've got Sergio Aragones listing a couple, or doing some doodles and doing his fun little silent 3-panel, 4-panel comic strips. And you've also got these sort of let's identify these types of people. Let's have some fake advertisements. Let's do all these other fun ridiculous things. And so I'm going to show a couple for those of you who are actually watching. Scotty Young, who even decries the fact that it's like, yeah, I'm constantly being asked to do variant covers, so I'm just gonna throw something out like this because I can't say no. And so of course he was making fun of absolute Batman. You've got some great little one pagers that are just goofy comics. Like in this one, we've got Batman and is called to the Watchtower toilets, where Metamorpho and Robin have kind of played a prank on him, like, oh no, Robin's been drowned in the toilet. Oh, he's dead, he's gone. And so Batman calls up Alfred and he's like, we're going to need another Robin. And everybody laughs because it's a practical joke. Robin pops out of the back of the toilet. And meanwhile, everyone notices, wait, there's another Robin just right there. It's just cute little fun things like this. But then, of course, like I said, you've got the Sergio Aragones comic strips. This one is just a perfect little observational 3-panel comic, where a mother's taking her kids into a comic shop and she's picturing all these little kids running around just enjoying comics. She walks in and everybody is an adult man, except for her and her 2 little kids. This is the Colleen Duran drawn sketch, and I'm trying to remember who wrote this one. This one was Gail Simone. And it was basically a 1950s, 1960s style, anti-sex PSA, where the Teen Titans show up. The original group of Teen Titans show up to a couple that's on Lover's Lane and says, "Oh, it's a good thing. Don't kiss because you can get gonorrhea and it's terrible." And they're dropping all these little puns and whatever, and everything's just a ridiculous joke. It's like, yeah, take a cold shower for the rest of your life until you get married, that kind of thing. But it's just goofy and fun and exciting. And then you have something like this that's a parody of Absolute and how Absolute has some crazy stuff. This one in particular is Tom Taylor and Berto Redondo drawing with letters by Lucas Gattoni, who we also know. And this one is sort of the absolute origin of the Condiment King. Bathed in the pain of sriracha, he rises with way too many abs. Just crazy stuff like this. And of course, little goofy things that are perfect, like Know Your Kryptonite. Oh yeah, Bill's saying something. He loves that one.
That was one of my favorites. Chip Zdarsky's Know Your Kryptonite.
Oh,
I
no,
thought this was really funny.
The great thing is, and it says it on the little bottom in tiny letters, for more Superman diarrhea humor, turn the page. And it's this little thing where Superman is hit with lactose intolerance and ends up basically destroying a porta-john, and it's a mess. But just, it's just page after page. And this is packed. I mean, I have to say, in terms of special issues, this one is worth every cent of the cover price. Whether you're getting the $7.99 or even the $10.99 version of this, it's got so much in it, so much content. It reminds me of being a kid and getting a normal issue of Mad Magazine and just poring over every page, trying to find every corner doodle and gutter doodle and little comment and editorial jab. Except this is all comic creators who love comics and also love Mad and just absurdist humor. Perfect. So highly recommended. Definitely pick it up if you see it. Get the shiny cover because I like shiny covers, and so everyone needs to be just like me. But I loved it, and I think Bill, you obviously read it, and we know a couple people who read it. And Caleb, did you read it?
I did, yeah. No, so I did get a chance to read this.
Yeah. I have to preface what I say is Mad Magazine isn't my thing. That's just like Weird Al Yankovic isn't my thing. These are concepts which I find where I can appreciate the talent that goes into them. Mm-hmm. For me, I get one laugh out of them, and that's about it, And it's the classic. It's not it's not you, it's me. I mean, that's just the way my humor is. It's nothing I would normally go to. There were some things I did enjoy. My favorite concept out of Mad Magazine is Spy versus Spy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought the Guy versus Spy, I thought that was spot on.
Yeah.
I really liked the petty vengeance of the Spectre. I thought that was really well done. The Zdarsky thing, and also the Jeff Parker's contribution of like the upcoming DC books. I thought some of those were so funny, like the Atom trademark renewal one shot, and the Crypto Black label, the subtitle "A fucking dog with the power of Superman." I thought there were some things I really thought were funny, but like, am I going to find this funny 6 months from now? And that's, and again, that's just the way I'm wired, and that's why I've never really gravitated, on a long term interest in stuff like Mad Magazine.
Yeah, and the way that Steve described it as absurdist humor, that's absolutely correct, right? And I'm just not a fan of absurdist humor. This I think if you like Mad Magazine, if you like absurdist humor, you're gonna love this, right? And if you like the jokey side of DC, there's obviously there's been some really good comedic stuff done with like Harley Quinn and stuff like that, and kind of slapstick comedy, very much in line with that, right? For me, the really cool part about this was seeing folks like Scotty Young, who are just so inherently steeped in being mad people. That's where they all talk about their history with comics goes back to that. And to see Scotty Young get to finally become one of the usual gang of idiots, that's kind of a full circle moment. And so I really appreciate that. But yeah, same thing with Bill. I don't know if it's just the way our brains are wired, similarly, but I'm not the audience for this. I knew that going in and still had a great time with it. Is it something that I'm going to, just champion? Will I read issue 2? Probably not, but I wasn't going to anyway, right? But for what this is, it is really, really good stuff, and I'm glad it exists.
Yeah. And I have a friend, Rob Usden, who he sticks with Mad no matter what, the format change. If it's 2 trades a year or if it's a bi-monthly book, he's there. He was over the moon about this book. He was really excited for this. And it's great to see somebody, Mad veterans like Sergio Aragonis contributing. And the level of talent contributing this cannot be denied. And it's like I said, it's an enjoyable read once through for me. And if people do get stuff out of revisiting this stuff, great.
Yeah.
And
I can see
it. Sounds like you are one that does get stuff out of revisiting.
Yeah, and I used to do that. I used to, with all of my stacks of Mad magazines that I had been collecting from like the late 80s on, and some cracked thrown in. I was not anti-cracked.
For people who don't know, cracked was like Timu Mad.
Yeah, it was.
And then you had
Sylvester P. Smythe,
Crazy, which was like great value, Mad.
But those were those were things that I would pull out every so often and just revisit. The Mad movie takes that they used to do. They used to do these movie parody ones. I had the Batman 1989 one. I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'd be able to to go back and be nostalgic about it for years until they all met a horrible end. I can't remember how they got destroyed or trashed, but it is what it is. It happens. They weren't collector's editions.
I have only a handful that survived when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, this was the super special era. And for people who may not be aware of this, Mad started life like this, comic sized. And then the Comics Code Authority became an issue, and it went to magazine. It wasn't under the same scrutiny. But there was a period in the 70s, like on a quarterly basis, where they would reprint one of the comics as a smaller insert. And I think this went on for years. I think they did go through all like 23 regular size issues like this. And as a kid, I got one, and I was resonating more with the archival material than the recent one. I also have a very vivid memory at 6 years old of throwing up on a Mad Magazine cover in a supermarket.
Which I'm sure they would have appreciated very much. You should have had a picture taken of that. They would have put it on the cover.
It's a very vivid memory.
They would have had like a caption under it. It's like, one of our biggest fans, and like, you know, an review for it. But yeah, I appreciate this. I know it's not everybody's, but if it is, if you are,
like I said, even if it's not for me, it is a concept I do want to see continue. I mean, I think, you know, when you always talk about, you know, when people talk about, you know, the Mount Rushmore of comics, you know, and I think the four characters that usually get mentioned are Superman, Batman, Archie Andrews, and Spider-Man. You know, Alfred E. Newman's presence up there is nothing I would battle against.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, he's recognizable. He's still recognizable, which shocks me. I'm sure that there are some Gen Alpha kids who are like, "What is this face?" You know, but it's you know, it's something that I think multiple generations can recognize, even if they are not fans of. They're like, "Oh, it's that guy."
Yeah, and it does seem to me like, at least for a time, the area that Mad would have, you know, the kind of position that Mad had in our zeitgeist, I really thought like Robot Chicken filled it nicely. You know.
Yes. Yeah. Robot Chicken, who has had many DC related specials that are all hilarious.
Mad is one of those properties, though, that I think if done right, it would resonate with younger audiences, right? So when I've caught glimpses of, you know, kind of modern popular, again, I'd call it slapstick or just whatever you want to call it, kind of comedy, things like Big Mouth, right? Like it fits right in with that kind of comedy. You know, it's crude, it's absurd. So, you know, if a Gen Z or what Gen Alpha, whatever we're up at now, you know, if they like that type of, you know, that type of comedy, would 100% recommend Mad Magazine to them. And I think that they would enjoy it. I mean, that would be a physical periodical that I think that they would dig. You know, SpongeBob, kind of the same boat. You know, it's just that, you know, it's great cartooning. It is lowbrow humor. It's fart jokes. And, you know, they're going to make a teen pregnancy joke and we're all going to laugh about it together, you know, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, and you know, it's always on top. Mad Magazine was always prided itself on being right at the forefront of pop culture. So every kind of thing that kids were into, it was going to be ripped apart in Mad Magazine. Any big Hollywood movie that just kind of captured everybody's attention, it would be parodied in Mad Magazine. So, you know, kids who were 8, 9, 10 could get the majority of what was being written about, and then older people, teens and 20s and 30s, and, you know, us middle-aged people would look at it and say like, oh, well, I could find some humor in that. And oh, what is that? Is that popular thing that I'm going to make fun of, even though I don't know anything about it? Sure. There's a new Paw Patrol movie coming up, y'all. So that would be fun to make fun of in Mad Magazine, and I would learn some things.
Although with the utmost respect, if any Gen Alpha or Gen whatever they're at now ask me who Alfred E. Newman is, I'm I'm just going to tell them it's Gary's younger brother, and just let them figure that one out for themselves.
They'll just say, "Who's Gary Newman?"
Go to the internet, my friends.
Oh, awesome. But yeah, what do we have next? I know we've got plenty more comics to talk about. So
I think
it's a DC marquee, the first 3-year-old DC.
Yeah.
So let's throw it over to Caleb with one of the next level books.
Yeah. So this one, you know, one of my favorite characters finally got a new #1 and got brought back. And I'm really, really excited about it. And, you know, read through it, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But it's good to see Batwoman get her own title again and get back on the forefront. And not only that, but it's also a return to form, right? It's a return to Batwoman from the pen and from the mind of the progenitor, right? It's Greg Rucka who's writing this. And so just super excited that we have Greg Rucka on this character again, because no one really knows her the way that Greg Rucka does and kind of understands the formula. And so we also get Danny who draws this, which is nothing to scoff at, right? I absolutely love looking at these pages. We get Matt Hollingsworth on colors, and there's some really cool, different, different covers and things that you could see. But what I love about this is what I kind of think is going to make it a hard read for anybody who doesn't know the character. This book is, if you haven't read some of Greg Rucka's stuff before, or the J.H. Williams version of this character, you might be a little bit confused, because this one throws you right into the deep end. The book opens up with Kate Kane, Batwoman. She is a hot mess. She's been beaten to a pulp, both physically and mentally, and she's in therapy, and she's talking about, her relationship with her sister Beth, who also was Alice. If those of you who have read like Batwoman Elegy, one of these, or seen the television show too. She, when the first season, I think it was either the first or second season, really took a run at this of the television show, and it's going back to that relationship. She's talking about the relationship that she had with her sister, the regret, the guilt that's set up there, kind of what she feels was not the lack of closure there, and how she just did not get kind of where she needed to be from that relationship, and how it's messed up her life. And the idea of they were twins, and they were kind of the mirror opposites of one another, and what that means for her. And while she's talking to this therapist, she's of course genuflecting, and the story goes back and gives you some amazing art of both Batwoman and Alice fighting, having those moments to where they are sisters, but all one of them is insane and is going to not only try to murder the other, but is also trying to murder a lot of people. And you get to see those kind of power dynamics at play. It is steeped in that history, steeped in that lore. And as the plot kind of unfolds, you start to see, okay, well, this is not just then versus now. There is a modern day plot afoot, and not everything is really as it seems. And when we start with a story like Alice, and we've seen that character supposedly be dead and be resurrected, and just the fact that originally she was. The point of Alice was she was kind of the figurehead of a blood cult, who was going to be bringing back and ushering in kind of the end of the world. They've rewritten that a little bit to make it to where the thing that she was supposed to be ushering into the universe is Darkseid, versus originally it was not Darkseid in the first that first run. It was some other type of death cult kind of situation, but now it's Darkseid, because all things have to circle around Darkseid these days. Just that's the big gravitational pull of everything in DC right now. But as you read into the comic, and you realize that she's in kind of a space where she's being monitored. She's being she's been hospitalized to some degree, and that there are machinations at foot as well that come from people who it's more of the same a little bit, right? There are clandestine organizations who knew what was going on with Kate, knew what was going on with her sister Beth, have that history there, and are going to try to use it to wreak havoc. But the book takes an interesting twist towards the last few pages, where you see these people and they're talking and they're discussing the issues, and then all of a sudden Batwoman shows up and she's getting ready to take them down. But she's also supposed to be hospitalized, or at least that's the way that I read it. So again, I am super stoked about this series. And there's a beautiful double page spread that actually Steve just put up on the screen for those of you watching at home, that shows Batwoman and Alice just going after it. Danny is a gorgeous, gorgeous illustrator. I love this work. It's Batman, so you've got the lightning in the background just because you have to. Good stuff overall. I love that. So the thing I love about the Absolute books, right, is they touch on the history of these characters, and they give you kind of the formulaic profile of these characters. But they effectively, other than just little bits and pieces, they throw canon out the window. They are not concerned with canon. This is the opposite of that. This book is very, very much rooted in canon. This this plays directly into Elegy. This plays directly into that kind of volume 2. There's stuff in here that touch on J.H. Williams' run to this as well. So you kind of need to read some of that lore to, at least from my perspective, I think you kind of have to read that to really understand what's happening here. They give you the elevator pitch, right? They give you the 30,000 foot views, like, hey, here's who they are. So you can pick up on this pretty quick. But I kind of feel like it would just, your eyes would kind of glaze over if you don't have the history with the character. I don't know if either one of you have gotten to read this first issue or not. So I'll let you kind of speak to that too and see,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If I had not been somebody who has read Kate Kane, every single Kate Kane appearance prior to, there are some elements I would have been lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I also agree with you that the storyline was the structure was a little strange. It was a little hard to follow at points. And it was almost as if this was a 0 instead of a 1, it would have made more sense. And Elegy had a 0 issue, so
yes,
that would have been a good time, a good a much easier way to digest it. I'm very excited from that last page. I'm very excited about when we open book 2.
Did you read that the same way? Did you read that the same way I did? As like, again, so she's supposed to be hospitalized, and now she, like, I mean, I think there's a legitimate question, like, is this Kate Kane? I don't know. I think it probably will be.
Or the time, there's something strange, like whether the time frame is actually matching the action that we see, or if this is in the past, or if it's unclear.
Yeah.
And given Rucka, it's probably intentional. Sure. I don't think he's no hack. But there were things I love seeing about it, like the impossibly red hair, the elegance of how she fights.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly had that in Danny's work. You mentioned the tweak where she's trying to usher in Darkseid instead of whatever the fucking rose the fuck that thing was. Good radio here. Sorry, folks. I do like that they are making some changes, because I do think the one thing that doesn't work now, time-wise, from her situation is that she was booted out of the military because of Don't Ask, Don't
Tell.
Yeah, that's the one thing that just time-wise, if this character is in her late 20s, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I would be interested to see if they do make a revision to that bit of canon, because I think it could be a very interesting side story in and of itself.
Yeah.
But also, I did like it, but with some reservations, and it sounds like they're the same ones that you picked up on, whether it was a structural issue or the unfolding of the story maybe just wasn't happening early enough for me. But when we got to that last page, I'm like so excited for 2. Because that's the Batwoman, like that's the tone of Batwoman to a T.
And that set me right back into all of those great Batwoman runs, post New 52, that we know and love, because you just hit the nail on the head. Most of the, armchair quarterbacking, and it's easy for me to do sitting here from the comfort of my home and not being a professional editor or whatever, but my critiques to this book are mostly just editorial in nature. Mm-hmm. You hit the nail on the head. The transitions in this book are non-existent. They don't let you know when we're switching in the timelines. And it could just be as easy as the little words in the corner, then and now, and there's not in there. This would also be the perfect book to have given us the editorial notes. And there's a few in here, right? There's a few that do link us back. But this could have had like 4 editorial notes on a page at minimum, just showing you which issues to go back and look at and stuff like that. And I think, if nothing else, they could have done something in here in the back matter that says, oh, did you catch this? And to really give people a way to go look at it, especially considering that we live in a world where we have the DC app, and I can go find those things very, very quickly and not have to pay more money for them, right? Mm-hmm. So I wish it had done that a little bit to see what they were going. And with somebody like Rucka, I mean, Rucka's brain is a steel trap most of the time, so he could probably tell you exactly just off the top of his head, this was back to this issue right there. It wouldn't be a lot of labor. So that's mostly my constructive criticism.
And I think some of that was because it was Rucka. It was something I was not expecting, because when I do think of past works where that were told in a nonlinear sense with flashbacks. The two that immediately come to mind are Queen and Country and the last time he was on Wonder Woman, with the
Yeah.
different artists handling the different times. That it was so regimented in a sense that I was surprised to not have that as I was reading it. Yeah.
Also, if we're going to deal with canon stuff, I would really like, and in the hands of Rucka, it might be worth doing. I would like them to actually go back and do something with and unflesh the fact that she kind of murdered Clayface. You know, and they've done that a little bit. They tried to deal with that as far as, you know, the fact that she's not scared to use lethal force, and, you know, the tension between her and Bruce and her and Dick, that they have, and, you know, so, but I never really got a whole lot of closure with that. It was the Monsters Unlimited or whatever it was. So I would really like them to go back and deal with the fact that she'll take a life, and she actually has murdered like Clayface, who's an on again, off again, almost an anti-hero now.
Yeah, but also, like, I digested it as this is somebody who is a soldier who has been driven to that point, either by order or necessity. I guess I just never saw it as a murder, you know.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Certainly,
I do get that. Yeah, no, I get that. It was just the way it was laid out. It kind of like it gives murdery vibes. You know, so
yeah, that would be interesting, you know, because there's a story there.
Was that Steve Orlando who did that? Because I know he did the monsters. He did the DC monsters thing.
Because there was that team.
Yeah.
First that Clayface was part of with her. I'd have to look up, and I think that was in Detective.
It was in Detective, and it led into that monster,
the whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that would be and that would probably
Jason
be
Todd. Yeah.
Marco Tamaki, I think, was doing at the time.
Maybe, yeah,
maybe so, yeah.
It blurs.
And then you get into the Lady Clayface stuff when they were dealing with that whole, you know, there was that group of four, and I forget what they called them now, or it was, you know, the Batwoman's version of the Legion of Evil. It was like Lady Clayface and a Scarecrow knockoff and stuff like that. So good stuff in there. There's a lot in Clayface, or there's a lot in Batwoman lore of mine from here. So hey, I like Batwoman. I'm glad it's there. You know, I want to see some good lesbian action. They want to bring back the Question and show me, you know, give me some more Renee Montoya in this. You know, Wrecker riding her is great. She's not in this that I remember seeing, but last time we saw her was that Watchtower series.
So. Yeah, it's such a shame though, because one of the abandoned DC animated movies was the Batwoman Wonder Woman crossover.
Mm-hmm.
They actually started storyboarding and scripting it. Because Jay Olivia, who was with Warner's then, is a huge Batwoman fan, and
as well she should be.
And I think it's a he.
Sorry.
And I think that is a character that, like an animated version of that, I think would be very interesting, really interesting.
Yeah,
and I think I brought that up again because of, her fighting style is not the Lady Shiva, like impossible karate. It's much more in the military vein.
Oh, it's Krav Maga. I mean, like it's like I've heard people who are like, who are martial arts expert. Yeah. It's Krav Maga, which plays into the fact that she's also Jewish, right? So, I think like the stuff that she's doing in there is based off of a real martial art, and which goes into again the history and the dedication of doing your research to be able to illustrate that. So,
yeah. All right, cool. All right. Well, I mentioned training, and this is key to this next book that I'm going to talk about. We are at the post KO period of DC's All In. Some of the newer books are being bannered as next level. This last month, we had a lot of books start new arcs. A lot of them, like most of the DCU proper. Started the new arcs, with Superman missing, Emperor Aquaman, shit going on with Guy. Flash started a new arc, Wonder Woman started a new arc, and so did the Batman series of books. Not the main title, but Detective did. And Steve, if you can put up the graphic show, the one that I'm talking about is Detective Comics number 1107. Gotham's New Trinity starts here. And for people who are listening and don't have the benefit of having the visual, the cover is of Batman throwing a batarang, and he's on either side, joined by Green Arrow shooting an arrow and Canary shooting her mouth off with her sonic scream. I didn't know how else to put that. So where are we with Detective 1107? So Green Arrow's title was canceled a few months back. He kind of, has no home right now. And in the comic, he kind of is in a position, he's in a transition period himself. So Queen Enterprises is opening a new office in Gotham City, and he's staying with Dinah. Now, Dinah's back in Gotham, but not for the happiest of reasons. It's because Ted Grant, Wildcat, if you were following JSA, sadly, Ted cashed in his ninth life. Wildcat is dead. And he, in his will, gave his boxing facility, his training facility, his gym to Dinah. Something she never anticipated that she would be doing. Something she never anticipated that, because Wildcat had 9 lives, and unfortunately, right now, the superhero community as a whole is feeling the effect of that. Ted Grant basically trained everybody. Even when Superman was powerless, he went to Ted Grant to hone up on some skills that where he could defend himself, even though he didn't have all his powers. Everybody, every hero, and even a few villains, let's be honest, have benefited from instruction on how to fight from Ted Grant Wildcat. So Steve, if you can go to some of the graphics, I'm going to do some of the setups here. So again, Arrow is in town. There is a young man who was murdered, and Arrow is on the trail of this, and he comes up against Bruce, who is in disguise. And Bruce kind of, accepts this. All right, Ollie's going to be around for a little while, at least, we got to get along. And, there's a lot of banter between the two, in a sense, that goes back and forth, because they're effectively the same friggin' character. A rich kid, who has gadgets, and has a mission, and protects his city, the same friggin' character in a sense. But the Batmobile is cooler than the Arrow car. That's just the way it is. So, Steve, if you can go to the next graphic here, and this is, it's Ollie and Bruce to a T. Bruce says, while you're in my city, you have to do things my way. And Ollie says, I don't see your name on it. And as you turn, Bruce, you can see the Wayne W there. Yeah, it is kind of a city. So as part of Dinah inheriting the gym and going to keep it operating and effectively fill the role that Ted had, she invites the Bat family and the Arrow family over to the gym for basically a soft opening, to talk about it, to mourn Ted, and to establish that there's a new status quo. And she decides she's gonna fight. She wants to start this off with a boxing match. Steve, if you can go to the next visual there, so you can see the team. There's the Bat family. You also have Roy Harper and Ollie. And who decides to be the first person to box against Dinah? If you go to the next page, of course, Damian wanted to do it, but no, Bruce goes. And the next page is this wonderful sense. I'll try to fill it in. Cassandra Cain, because she can see ahead, in a sense, in terms of fighting structures. So she's effectively the referee. And Dinah and Bruce go at it, and Dinah wins. Probably because, she was the most fervent disciple of Ted. And Bruce kind of gives her a wink. He's cool with it. It's okay. But there's another big mystery going on in Gotham right now. Very recently, there was a heroic character that we've never heard of before named Prion. He's been buried. There's somebody that visits his grave while Dinah, Ollie, and Bruce are there. And it may be his granddaughter. And we have a visit from a very wealthy woman picking up the granddaughter, apologizing for the situation. And what we're left at the end is this realization that Bruce, Dinah, Ollie, and this mystery Prion at one time were a dedicated team. And that's what this story is going to go forward, a foursome that is now a trinity. Tom Taylor is the writer. Pete Woods is the artist. Pete Woods has been at this. He's been an artist for some time now. But turning these pages, it felt like I was, it was like a new artist with his first shot at something. It was very vibrant. Even when nothing's happening, just the stances of people, were very, well conceived. And I was not expecting, of the books that I had in the stack, I was not expecting this to be the book I talked about. I thought, well, it's another Batman book. It's Tom Taylor. He's good. Matt Fraction main titles going on. I really enjoyed this. This year has been really good for Batman so far. I think this is the third Batman book I've talked about this year. It's amazing. So yeah, that's my pick that I hope you all investigate. Detective Comics 1107. And again, with the Bruce Ollie Dinah situation, this feels more like Brave and the Bold than it does Detective. So if that was your thing, go for it.
Yeah. Just to your point though, shout out how good like the regular the ongoing comics at DC. I mean, Action Comics is the same way. Like they're just good right now. Yeah. And Detective being good is usually a good sign that everything else is on the right track too. Those are, Detective and Action are pretty good litmus tests for the state of the DC line, and they're on point right now. So
yeah. I mean, that's what we want. You want the in between the events. You want those comics to be solid. You want those comics to get to hold the readers that may have found them through crossovers or whatnot, or to keep the readers that they had before the event coming back and just saying like, hey, more solid comics that I can continue to
and there were other stories I could have picked. There was the onset of the New Titans. That first issue was in the batch. The first post KO Justice League issue, which was very interesting, about granting clemency and membership to certain villains who were, who aided in the KO battles. There was some really interesting stuff going on, and a lot of it very complicated, but this one was just it was a very pleasant surprise, because Batman tends not to be at the top of my stack. So
cool.
All right.
Instead of Brave and the Bold, I've got to get caught up on the Gabe Hardiman question miniseries that's going on right now, because I think, from what I understand, I haven't read it yet, but that's got very Brave and the Bold kind of vibes to it. So I need to get caught up on that.
Yeah, I got to get caught on a lot of stuff. There's a book you're going to be talking about, Caleb, that I'm so far behind on. All right. Well, I guess we're going to put aside DC, go over to the indie side. So, Steve, why don't you take it away with your first book?
Oh, sure. So I have been following James Tynion IV's forays. Yeah, he's that guy. He's kind of obscure. He's done a couple books here and there, But anyway, with his veritable empire of titles on the independent side of things, he has been, I guess, as a pet project, been writing different comic miniseries about the history of UFO sightings in the United States, called Blue Book. And there were 2 volumes to it. They were both really fascinating. Michael Avon Emming did some of the art on those. There's some other artists that would guest for for sort of like a secondary story in the back of those issues. And it was fascinating. It was the stuff that I used to read about in, what was it, Mysteries of the Time Life book series, Mysteries of the Unknown, those really cool things that they used to advertise all throughout the
And
80s
those
and early
commercials
90s.
were scary as fuck.
Oh yeah, a
Oh
woman
my-
cuts her finger and her daughter, or like a daughter cuts her finger and a woman feels the pain.
100
Her
miles
mother
away.
feels the pain miles
Yeah.
away.
And
But
they always
just
air at like 2 in the morning as you were just about
Oh,
to
yeah.
fall asleep, and then oh,
but so much fun. And if you can find them now, because they are collector's items, if you can get those, they're pretty cool. But also Unsolved Mysteries, all of that stuff. I used to eat that up. And of course, X-Files came in and put a fictional spin on that on a weekly basis, which has been a lot of fun to revisit recently. A friend of the podcast, Ben Reifsnyder, has been doing that Monster of the Week episodes for his podcast, Little Dead Aliens. But what Tinian has been able to do is take those stories and create a structure around them. Not just taking them as individual situations, which he does and he describes in detail, but connecting them to the US government's responses to those exact same stories. Because nothing happens in a vacuum, and especially during the Cold War, absolutely nothing can happen in the United States that the US government isn't somehow involved in, either covering up or misdirecting or redirecting, the public's consciousness about. And controlling the narrative is a really big topic in the first Blue Book series. Well, he finished those 2 volumes and he's like, you know what? Let's look at this from the other side of the Cold War. What did the East see? Because this wasn't just a US phenomenon. There were situations, there were things, there were sightings that happened in the Soviet Union. There were situations and UFO sightings in China, in the People's Republic of China, during this whole time frame. So it wasn't just, it wasn't just the US seeing this. It was also, Cold War adversaries, as well as China, who were seeing these things and taking a very interesting approach. So what he's created is what's known as Red Book, because of the red color, that we associate with the Soviet Union and communism. And let me see if I could pull this up here. There we go. And basically what he does and what he has been doing, this is actually issue number 4. So this is the last issue of the volume of Red Book. And he might go back to the well here. He might go back and have a second volume of Red Book coming up soon. But this is the last issue. What he's been doing throughout this series has been taking those stories in the same way that he was taking the stories from Blue Book, presenting them in a way, like a very conversational way of, these people encountered these things, these people reported this, and then bringing in the government side of things and getting to see that from the Soviet side, fascinating. Because just like in the US, they did take a very strong interest in UFOs. So unidentified objects, of course, a lot of the thought was, hey, these are American experimental weapons or aircraft that are breaching our airspace. So we have to be very careful about how we investigate them. We don't want to start an incident, but maybe they're starting an incident themselves. Like, we need to make sure that we're very, we're very careful about investigating these. But then also, from a very Soviet control the message way, we didn't want people to panic. So you had to be very careful at how this message or this incident or the story came out through the rest of the Soviet Union. In fact, a lot of times it was kept very local. So only people who were from that oblast or people from that, that province or whatever, were the ones who kind of knew about the story because it was reported locally and then never got out beyond that, except to the government in Moscow. Interestingly enough, to sort of counter that, we have the Chinese government's way of looking at UFO sightings and UFO reports. And that's what issue number 4 really focuses on here. Issue number 3 also started looking at the Chinese encounters and how they interpreted that and how the government reacted to that. And it was very different. It's actually kind of surprising. I wouldn't have thought this. But in the book, he presents a couple different storytellers, and through those storytellers, he brings up these different sightings and these different things that have happened. And so in this one, we have an American reporter being interviewed by a podcaster, and he's talking about for the 10, 11 years that he was living in China, he was investigating a lot of these UFO situations, these reportings. And the podcaster is like, well, were you oppressed by the government? Did the government try to silence you? Or was this, did you ever have a visit from some government agent saying you really need to stop talking about this? And he said, no. And in fact, in China, the only things you have to do if your organization gets over 20 people is you just have to register to the government, because then it becomes an organization that could at some point be a threat to the government. So, of course, you have to register. But otherwise, whatever you're talking about, if you're talking about UFOs, the Chinese government doesn't really want to suppress that. They're fine with that. Like, tell these stories because it's really fascinating, and people across China are going to be interested in that. They don't take the stance that this needs to be repressed or hushed up or re-explained or something like that. So, which is a really interesting way of talking about it. So you have a lot of big UFO sightings that become national news, and people talk about that. So we had a situation where an elderly couple very recently, and I think it was like 2018, 2019, they're seeing UFOs that are just flying over, scanning things with light, and they report it, and it becomes national news. There's a commercial airline where people spot things out the window with multiple unidentified objects flying by, and they're recording it with their phones, and it makes national news. People are fascinated by it. The government sends out somebody to investigate, and even then they're like, well, we can't really explain it. This is really interesting. We don't have any facts, so we can't really say one way or the other, but hey, maybe it is aliens. And it's really interesting here too, because Tinian counteracts that with because of course these are being reported nationally, it's not hidden news, so this makes it across the pond, and US government officials are hearing about this and are interested in these kinds of things, but their take is more, oh, it's just crap. It's probably a Russian refueling jet or cargo jet, the cargo rocket that's going up to the ISS. Like, we don't trust any of that information that's coming across. Like, their whole take on it is like, whatever the Chinese are saying, it's probably crap, which is very interesting. Also, from a aesthetic standpoint, whenever you are in the US or in the West in these books, the color shading is very blue. When you're in the East, it's either red or black and white. So it's very color coded. So just by looking at a page whose opinions are being presented. I think it's fascinating. All the stories behind this, all the government interception of different reporters, different UFO enthusiasts, and the way that they either pump them up or feed them disinformation, which is actually a major part in this issue, looking at how the US government has for a long time been able to use UFO researchers against other UFO researchers by feeding some disinformation and feeding some, bits and pieces of actual information so that nobody's seeing each other as competent or believable. It's fascinating, especially when looking at the history of the Soviet Union and their approach to it, and the modern, approach that the PRC takes to the UFO phenomenon. So, whichever side of whether aliens are real, UFOs are real, or they're all just government, government experimental aircraft or weather balloons or whatnot that you take, this is a really fascinating read on that. And it really shows everybody's perspective and names people very clearly, like, hey, this group, does this because of X. This group was, this team or division within the US government was created because of X. This team or division in the Soviet government was created because of this certain phenomenon going on. So, all these countries were seeing things, and they needed to either explain or study them or find ways to present or cover up for their individual publics. But it's really cool. It's fascinating. It's great fact stuff, and it's pretty to look at. So
yeah, that cartoon is beautiful.
Yeah, who was the artist?
Michael Avon Emming.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, just given the coloring style, that felt very Blue Delaquanti.
A little bit, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there is a lot of like it's very expressionist style, and Emming actually explains himself in the
That's
back
very
matter
cool,
for
'cause
this, where he shows how he presents.
That's interesting because I would not have said that was him like off the bat. No.
But it's in there.
It's in there, but I would not have said off the bat that's him. That's cool.
This is one that he did where he had, I know, sorry about the glare, but he had a gray alien superimposed with Stalin, and just to kind of present it that way, which is really just, again, fascinating. The tack that they took with all these stories and the perspective, it's very apolitical. There's absolutely nothing in here that condemns or promotes any kind of political side to this. It's all, here are the normal people who see these things, or here are soldiers and government officials who see these things, and how that's then approached by the different governments and throughout history. Because sometimes you had different tacks. You had governments that were U.S. governments or Soviet governments that were like, hey, we gotta find out where these aliens are coming from. Are aliens real? We gotta figure it out. And others that were just sort of like, no, this is all bullshit. It's all weather balloons and swamp gas and experimental aircraft that are top secret and people shouldn't be talking about it. All of that happened, was taken as fact or disputed all throughout the past 80, 90 years of this. So yeah, just
Steve, you may have answered this, and I may have just missed it because I know. But like, is this in any way tied into the Department of Truth stuff? Because I mean, it feels like it would fit so well into that.
It would, but this is kind of like Tinian's fact-based side project.
Gotcha.
Probably because this started after Department of Truth came out. So I'm wondering if
it's got to play into it to some degree, just the research he did there. But this is okay. I got you.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if in the process of researching Department of Truth, he was like, hey, there's a lot here. Let's run wild with it and just kind of present it as these are the facts of the stories and these are the approaches of the different governments. And he's very clear, like a lot of this is public knowledge and has been for a while, not just released every time somebody wants a distraction. But there's been a lot of discussions, books written about different players in Project Blue Book, which was kind of at the start of things, and then all the other projects that came out of that in the US side, as well as I think it was Section 22 in the Soviet Union that came up in the 70s after a lot of other unexplained phenomenon there, where the Chinese government doesn't really have that, which was an interesting thing to learn. They or at least not public knowledge that there is an existing group that researches that, because they just let the people do it. They're like, have fun. If it's dangerous, we'll step in, but whatever. So, but yeah, I don't know. This collected, I think these would be good reference books. To be honest, I think they tick enough boxes in facts and good essay reads that somebody could probably use this and write a paper. So, but yeah.
All right, nice.
Very cool.
Okay, Caleb, over to you. What have you got?
Okay, Bill, I got a joke for you before I lean into it. All right, it's a grown-worthy joke, so I'm just going to fair warn you. What's the difference between comics and orange juice?
I don't know, Caleb. What is the difference between comics and orange juice?
I actually like pulp in my comics. And so the book that I want to talk about...
Dude, you drive me crazy with this. But go ahead.
What?
These aren't pulp characters.
No, but it's very pulpy feeling, right? Like they're not pulp characters, but it has a very pulp vibe.
You pulp and grunge. It's like Caleb Pulp and grunge. I have issues, but go
I
ahead.
I need a t-shirt with Caleb Pulp and Grunge. That's gonna be
Caleb Pulp and Grunge.
that's gonna be our next bit of merch. So, but these are not pulp characters, but they do have a very pulpy feel to them, right? And so that's why
I'll concede to pulp era.
It's not Tarzan, right? But it's the same kind of thing-ish, right? And so the book that I read, I got caught up with, and I was super excited. And I think this is the book that Bill was saying he's got to get caught up on. But there I was, just minding my own business, scrolling through my app that I read comics on, and lo and behold, a book popped up on my screen. And number one, the cover of it got me, right, because it had all of these old school characters that I love. And then I looked at the names on it, and that grabbed me as well. And then surprise, surprise, so I interested in the title, interested in the writer, don't really know the artist, but then I look and see it's Mad Cave. All right, Mad Cave's on fire right now. I'd be foolish not to read something from Mad Cave because they're looking good. And so that's the trifecta, right? So the book is Defenders of the Earth. This is written by Dan DiDio. The Dan DiDio wrote this, with Alex Sanchez on the arts, Juancho on the colors, and Carlos Manguel on the letters, with covers by Marcos Santucci. And it's a culmination of just these kind of classic comic heroes, the classic superheroes, a lot of which were, are kind of, at least two of which, if not, I know three of which were created by Falk. The OG superhero comics writer, the guy who kind of created everything with Mandrake, and Mandrake is in this. So we have got a great cast of characters, but lo and behold, the story itself centers around Flash Gordon. But you also, again, you get the Phantom, you get Mandrake the magician, you get Lothar, all of which are on the cover of the issue 1 that you can see if you're watching this. But you get the second generation of these characters too. You get Flash Gordon's son Rick. You get Jetta Walker, who is Kit Walker's daughter, the Phantom's daughter. You get Lothar's son, right? And so you get all of the second generation of these characters rolled in. Let me paint the picture for you really quick, because this has been part and parcel of a kind of resurgence in these characters that Mad Cave has done in creating this universe. The crew has found themselves, these Defenders of the Earth, which are, again, you've got Flash Gordon, you've got the Phantom, you've got Mandrake, and you've got Lothar. They're kind of the core team on this. They have found themselves back on the planet Mongo, right? And some shenanigans have gone down, right? We've gone a long way about it to get here. But long story short, right, you've got, the big bad in most of Flash's characters, Ming the Merciless. Well, he's dead, supposedly. So that's created a little bit of a power vacuum. Ming had a son, right? Maybe he's doing something. Well, that's Crotan, right? And Crotan also not around anymore. Got wiped off the map after he killed his dad, right? So killed Ming. Now he's gone. Creates a power vacuum. Now this planet, if you know anything about it, if you're familiar with this this realm, this kind of corner of comics, it's very tribalistic, right? And so you have the lion people, you've got the shark people, you've got the hawk people that are, kind of like Hawkman. It's probably where Hawkman spun out of, I'm sure. With this, or at least it's that kind of look to it, and they're very tribal. And in the power vacuum, so to speak, they are kind of at war. Well, Flash and company are back here because they're searching for Flash's. Searching for Flash's former paramour, right? His lady, Dale Arden, who they believe may or may not be dead, but she also, like the things that made Dale, like her spirit, her persona, her identity, have been digitized, right? And so they're also following kind of this, leading the trail back. And so they land on, they land on our planet, Mongo, and they were captured. The opening book shows them, and they're like tied to the stakes, and they're being judged, and they're about to have a really bad day, mainly because of some characters that we've seen on this planet they're not what they seem, right? There's a human exile on this planet that his name is Vidoc or Viok, I forget how you pronounce it, and he's a little bit of the what was the character from Lord of the Rings that was like whispering into the king's ear when he was like sick and decayed, the king of the horse people? You know the reference, right? So he's a little bit like that. He's reshaped and is twisting the consciousness and the ideas of the Lion Kingdom, or the Lion tribe, Lion men, and turning them against longtime allies, right? Like people they should be supporting. Uh, because he's a little bit like persona non grata, because he's Flash has created the power vacuum. And through this, they've realized, okay, well, something here has got to change, and so they're able to escape. They're able to get out of harm's way and go off into Mongo and hide to where they're going to come back and really play a larger role. The book is about 6 issues, I think, is what it's going to be. And I think we're up to issue 5 right now, but is it 10? It's 8. It's going to be 8 issues. Sorry, Bill was finger puppeting me. So pick 3, my lord, from Shrek. So there's going to be 8 issues to this, and the first 4 issues are just absolute bangers, right? It is steeped in lore. It's fun. It's exciting. What you find out, and I'm not going to spoil everything, but as our heroes are fighting through, and Mandrake hijacks a submarine, rescues them. They escape the Hawkmen. They finally reach back and are able to connect with the crew on Earth. Kurt Walker, who is Kit's brother, who kind of shows up. He's operating, and maybe his body's inhabited by a storm demon that Jeddah has to tamp down. And they realize that not all is what it seems, and maybe there's a way or a link between these two worlds and a way to portal back and forth. There's some history with Ming the Merciless there, and all of this kind of culminates when our crew is recaptured, and they're not going out without a fight. But the way that the Mongo the world works is it's trial by combat, and so they stick our boy Flash in the arena, and there's all of these monsters, or these big people that he has to fight. But there's one that's kind of a ninja, right? That's just kind of sitting back and is very just aloof. Well, by the end of it, you realize that this is somebody that they know, that there's a long history with, and the reveal of this character rocks Flash Gordon for all he's worth, changes the script on everything that they think they know about who's alive, who's dead, what's at play here, and really has big doings for this world and for the plot of this particular story. Super fun. It is because it's Mad Cave, most likely. So we had somebody comment at CJ Jeep, at the CJ Jeep, asking, how did I miss a Defenders relaunch? Probably because it's at Mad Cave, right? I don't know if you're keeping up with those, but unless you just, if you get through our, DCBS, you got to look for it. And that's probably how. There's also a Flash Gordon relaunch that's going on right now. Mad Cave is playing. Yeah, and a Phantom. Yeah, Mad Cave is playing with these characters, doing a really good job with it. It's got Project Superhero vibes all over the place in it. So, I mean, you've got my attention immediately. I love the junior characters, right? Like Jeddah Walker is awesome. This character named Kashin, who is he's a mentee. He's one of Mandrake's, proteges. He's from Mongo, so he's from that planet. Is just elusive and weird. The shark people, the hawk people, the lion people, the world, the ephemera of everything. It is super fun, and yeah, it's full of punch, bang, thwack goodness that you see. Mandrake is written wonderfully. That dude is a badass, and he knows it. Like, he is cocky and just will not play nice with others. He's full of sarcasm. So I really recommend this. I think it's great. If you're a person who you're like, well, these characters are from like the 30s, why would I want to read them? Because they're fun, man. Like, that's it. Like, this is this is superhero comics, man. It's big, dumb, high stakes, rooted in all of these larger than life figures, very early aspects of what would become superhero comics. And it's just cool. So I don't know how, kudos to Dan DiDio, because he's doing justice to these characters. So Bill, I know you're reading some of the side titles and you hadn't got caught up on this, but what are you thinking?
I've been reading the other Mad Cave stuff. I've kept up with Gatchaman and Speed Racer and Racer X. It seems that that they've kind of taken some of the thunder away from Boom and Dynamite, in terms of really top-notch licensed
Yeah.
books right now. So Defenders of the Earth, it's a little bit before your time, Caleb, but this was a series that King Features in the mid 80s saw the millions and millions of dollars that were being generated from Masters of the Universe and G.I. Joe, and they decided, let's use our characters and get in that game. So there was an animated series. You can watch it all free on Tubi if you want to watch it. And it was produced by Marvel Productions, which was why they were allowed to use the Defenders name.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. And there was an attempted relaunch with Dynamite. They didn't have the rights to use Defenders, so it was called King's Watch, which again is a tip of the hat to King Features, who owned these characters. Again, these characters all came out of comic strips in the 1930s. You mentioned Lee Falk, who created two of them. Alex Raymond created Flash Gordon, but the other two were created of the principal characters, and Lothar being a supporting character for the Phantom, were created by Lee Falk. Very interesting prototypes for superheroes. In the Phantom, you have the first masked man, and in Mandrake, you have the first superpowered individual. In this particular type of fiction, I would really be interested to read how they do Mandrake here, because I've always said that it's very brief, but when James Robinson wrote Zatara, which basically is Mandrake, he just has these lines, I defeated him. And keep in mind, I was in Top Hat and Tails, and I looked dashing as hell. I love that. A little, because he's a showman, there's a little bit of pomposity. I think that's the best way to write that character.
It's how he's written.
That's cool. But again, it was an animated series for 65 episodes. It was a little dark in some areas, because in the first half hour we see Dale Arden killed, and we see references to Zuffy, their little furry companion, that his entire species has been decimated. So this is a little dark stuff for a kid's cartoon for at least the first 25 minutes.
They even this comic book, right? They straight up say, what's going on here in the tribalistic nature is that there are different groups, and each one of them is plotting genocide, right? And that's why we got to make you make Flash the center point, give them a person to fight against, so they're not fighting each other. There's some heavy stuff going on in here.
Yeah, and again, the legacies for all three of these characters, whether it's Mandrake and crime and show business, or it's the Phantom with, him being the ghost that walks in Africa, or the space-bound adventures of Flash Gordon. You have so many stories you can tell.
Yeah.
So I just, I didn't have enough time today to get caught up on stuff, but these are the most recent books. It's the sequel series, Dark Destiny.
Yep.
So I'm sure you'll be reading that. And opening this, I didn't even know about this. There's a brand new Phantom video game.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that.
Yep. That's available on Nintendo Switch.
Interesting, yeah.
And a couple of other ones. Before we move on, though, you said you mentioned kind of the three main characters, which fair point, right? I mean, we're talking about Flash, the Phantom, and Mandrake. But what I think is very cool in this, and it harkens back to Lee Falk's the way that he originally wrote it. Lothar is not a sidekick in this. Lothar, 100%. He is his own character. He is not beholden to the Phantom. He can do his own thing. His son plays an important role. He has his autonomy here, and is written very well and fleshed out very well. And it makes it very clear they value, his opinion is critical. He is a part of this team. He is an equal part of this team. And I think that was really, really well done. And it harkens back to what Lee Falk did when he wrote those characters. Yeah, sure, Lothar was kind of this king of this, African kingdom, but in a time where it was the 30s, and we always talk about books being, it was of its time. That's the way we excuse things. Falk had no patience for a lot of the more racist epitaphs. Yeah, he straight up in and is no, he's his own character, man. He is not just he's a supporting actor or supporting figure, but he is not lacking in autonomy.
Right. And it was a nice balance, because however you interpret it, the Phantom was born out of colonialism.
Yeah.
And it was a nice balance to have, such a strong character. And it was nice to see that King Futures, so recognize that when they, decided upon who were the main characters. I did get all of the Galoob toys. There was a now defunct company called Galoob. And I think NECA just did a series just very recently. And there's one villain, Garrix, which is a beautiful, beautiful character design. Spaceships look janky as shit, but it's some good Defenders of the Earth for something that was totally conceived as a commercial
Yep.
enterprise. I mean, completely conceived. It still had some strengths to it. And I'm glad to see that they are continuing with this. And I have all the issues. I just have not gotten them.
I can't wait till you read it because I want to talk about the twists in here because like there's some.
No, that sounds really cool. Yeah.
The Dio knows the history. Like he knows,
yeah.
like he rips into it. And there's so much stuff in here that hell, I wish. Like this is another book. Like I wish y'all had given me more editor's notes. Like where does this come from? Like where in history can I find this? Because he knows the lore on all of these characters, and he brings it in. Like there's some pretty big stakes here to the history of these characters as a whole, right? It's not just all, well, these are all B and C level things. Like he brings in some pretty hefty moments to this.
Yeah, cool. Nice. Okay, cool. All right, continuing with the indie back half. As I was consoling myself that I wasn't able to get a copy of Daredevil #1 today, there was another book on the racks where I was like, oh, that cover is interesting. And I bought it and I read it and I liked it. And now I'm talking about it. How do you like that? Sometimes it's that quick. And this book is from Ignition Studios, and it's written by Dennis Hopeless with art by Bram Ravel. Fairly new artist, Bram Ravel. He kind of made his presence known with the Jenica, the miniseries of the female Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle spinoff.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's what he's been known about. So Steve, if you can just pull up that first graphic, and this is the main cover of Just Brutal #1. So what is happening in Just Brutal in this particular world? Well, it centers around Jordan Savage, who is a 16-year-old who's kind of he's barely hanging on, dealing with his parents' recent divorce. He has a twin sister, Winter, who is his opposite in every way. Where he is reserved, she is very outgoing. Where he is unathletic and wants to be a filmmaker, she has a volleyball scholarship and she's actually out of town doing volleyball stuff, even though she's only 16 years old. And if you can just hit some of the graphics, Steve, you see here, Jordan's basically telling the story. His father can beat up your father. His father can do anything. He's a fantastic athlete. He was an incredible history with the military, and his world has been rocked because he doesn't have, though he didn't have a great relationship with his father's absence in place, he's really feeling it. Steve, if you can go to the next graphic, as I said, he wants to be a filmmaker. So we, on the third page of it, we see him murdered, but we soon find out it's just them creating a scene for a horror movie that he's making. And as we go along in the story, it's all established. He lives with his mother. His father, his sister are not there for what appear to be different reasons. But all of a sudden, his father and his sister reappear, and they're there to tell his mother and Jordan they have to leave. And it's very abrupt, doesn't make any sense until, Steve, if you can go to the next graphic, a monster comes through the window. Okay, so what exactly is happening here? Well, it turns out that both his mother and father are not who they appeared to be to him. They are actually ancient barbarian warriors. They've been living quietly this existence for 3,000 years, but their main nemesis, a sorcerer named Farquhar the Fleshless, don't try to say that 10 times fast, has returned, and he sends this army of these hideous creatures, and they're about to devour Des Moines, Iowa. But in the melee of what happened in Des Moines, that's when Farquhar realizes, hey, these people are alive and he wants them out. So he sends his forces over there. And again, it's mostly from Jordan's point of view about, not knowing what's going on, and nothing about his life is what he thought it was. And just at the point, again, his father, was obviously, this incredible athlete, is this, leader of men. But when it comes to who actually defeats this monster, Steve, you can go to the next page. It turns out to be his mother, who was a sorceress of some kind. And the next issue, which I didn't pick up, though it is available, involves all four of them going into the mother's minivan to assist in the efforts in Des Moines. The writer is Dennis Hopeless. Again, the artist is Bram Ravel. This really had a very fun, kinetic feel to it. It's been funny because we've been talking about some books that, even though we like them, that there were some structural issues. This is, if I were a professor of how to plot and sequence a comic book, this would be a very good example of how to do it. So I unexpectedly think I'm in for this one. And again, that's Just Brutal #1 from Ignition.
There's something about it, and maybe it's just the art, but it looks a little bit like Chris Schweitzer, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I was thinking it's very similar.
And the premise reminds me of something that, if Matt Kent is doing something funny, like this would be a Matt Kent being funny kind of book. I'm really interested in this. I've never heard of Ignition. Are they new? Are they a new imprint?
Imprint? They were like one of those imprints that were like I guess Aftershock and Distillery are kind of like dormant a little bit right now because of the Diamond goings on.
Yeah, the Diamond.
But they were basically established writers. I mean, some of their other writers here, Cullen Bunn, Leah Williams. I think a book maybe you talked about, Murder Podcast, was from Ignition.
I haven't talked about it, but I have been having trouble finding Murder Podcast because it's either sold out everywhere or just underordered.
B. Claymore, Jeremy Hahn. So these are established writers that are involved.
And most of those are the kind of North Midwest contingent. Like all of those folks are in and around Chicago, Missouri, like that area. And I think Dennis Hopeless, he was the one who had him and Cullen Bunn had the podcast together for a while too. So yeah, all those folks. It doesn't surprise me to hear the list of names that you guys read.
Yeah, it is a fairly new imprint. Yeah,
cool.
It sounds cool. It sounds really cool.
Yeah. And as I was reading this, it's like, oh, this. Caleb would like this. Steve would love this. It was that kind of feel. So in your efforts to try to find Murder Podcast, maybe pick this up.
I'll look for it. Maybe I might need to go back to Sailfish or see if my LCS can still order copies. Because a lot of and that's one thing that a lot of people don't do. If they don't see it on the shelf, then the idea is like, oh, I guess it's gone. But sometimes you can. Sometimes they can order, issues that might still be in stock. So always check before you.
And also, Steve, make a point of looking at DCBS, the specials, of the
like the
relisted stuff, because you can find some good stuff there. I went crazy last month. I got Marvel Unleashed. I never completed that. A lot of Black Hammer that I missed out on.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so that's the comics. And one of the ways people digest and accumulate new comics these days are Kickstarters. And
Yes.
there's a few Kickstarters we do want people to know about. So I took screenshots right from my phone. So this is how they would appear if you were pulling stuff up on the Kickstarter page. But Steve, if we can go through the 4 that we would like to talk about, and some of these involve very familiar names if you've been listening or viewing the podcast for a while. And the first I want to talk about is Athena Voltaire Summer Special #1 by Steve Bryant. It is the return of the globe-trotting aviatrix. It's going to be a double-sized 56-page one-shot that Steve wants to have in hand for some of the summer conventions. It's already been funded, but you do have at this point 40 hours left to go if you want to get on the campaign on the main on the the initial phase of
the ground floor, if you will.
The initial phase. And here I just have an example that Steve provided, and I'm very excited about new Athena Voltaire because it has been some time.
It has. Well, I mean, he's finally gotten all of the rights back,
Yep.
And is able to go ahead and create his own stuff and send it
Yep.
out the way he wants, and provide it to the fans directly again.
Right.
Which is really
And
great.
if you monitor his stuff, you'll also know that there is a full compendium of Athena Voltaire coming up too. But this Kickstarter is the one that's active right now. And if we can go to the next one, longtime friend of the show.
It's not in the same order. It's actually in
alphabetical order.
order,
You just knocked me silly here. Okay, so the next one is not a longtime friend of the show, but somebody we do hope is becoming a friend. Dan Noakes is somebody that I've got into contact with through our friend John Westhoff. And he is celebrating 25 years as an independent comic creator. He started up his own imprint. How many times have I said imprint on this podcast? God, you take a shot, you'll be like loaded. 21st Century Sandshark Studios, and he is reissuing 2 of his past works, The Paranormals and The Pistoliers, in both hardcover and trade collections. So the Kickstarter there has about 6 days to go. And Steve, if you can just keep going there. I just provided the main covers for The Paranormals and The Pistoliers, and you can go to the campaign page and find out more information about those 2 properties. Okay, now and Steve, please, I hope I pronounced Lucas's name right. Lucas Masher.
It's actually Wukash.
Wukash
Miker.
Boy, am I off. Okay.
But it's definitely Wukash.
Okay, so Wukash is a fairly well-known queer creator, and he has a series called Silence that he is publishing. And with each of the issues, it's an anthology based series. Each of the issues are completely without dialogue. It's completely silent based storytelling. And this Kickstarter is for the next 2 issues, numbers 5 and 6. Number 5 is Dream, and number 6 is Nightmare. And you can go again to the campaign page to find very specific information about that. I'm very happy to spotlight any of his work. So, and again, though this is coming from overseas, it's not a problem for you to kickstart something if you are in the States.
Yeah, and one of the things too, also with a lot of creators who are overseas and comic creators in general who are on Kickstarter, is that they almost always offer PDF versions for people who either the shipping is too much, which since they've changed how shipping of small items has gone, it's now much more expensive to mail things to the US. But PDF versions of everything are almost always on the table there. So if you want to read it and want to support it, but you're not sure if you can pay the shipping, PDFs are available for all the Kickstarters that we've shown so far.
And I should mention that the creators involved in these 2 issues for number 5, it is by Giapata, and number 6 is by Krzysztof Szydowski.
Cool.
And I like how they characterize this as more than just an anthology. So
Yeah.
So those are available to Kickstart. And then the last one we'll go to is Stabbity Ever After, Stabbity Bunny number 2, Wonderland, by our good friend Rich Rivera. It's a continuation of the Stabbity Bunny series, and this one has about 15 days to go. It has also reached its goal. That's very good. But again, you can go on the ground floor, and I just love this next page that I provided where Stabbity is in full cyclone knife in hand mode. It's pretty cool. And again, you can go directly to the campaign page, find more about the world of Stabbity Ever After and Stabbity Bunny, and take it from there.
Awesome. Yay. Yeah, in fact, I think this one was funded in one day, was fully funded in the first day, and now they're on track to meet the next set of stretch goals. So
nice.
Okay, and the stretch goals are always fun when it comes to Stabbity Bunny.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind doing this regularly. If we have like Kickstarters, we do one.
Kickstarter Corner with a K.
Kickstarter Corner.
It's very my favorite murder. It's like Corrections Corner, the Kickstarter Corner.
Yeah, but let's not hope like Kickstarter Corner has as many. What Steve is talking about is there's a podcast, well-known podcast, My Favorite Murder, and they do have a corrections corner where they go over everything from the previous episode that they got incorrect, and
that's
sometimes
funny.
it's very, very long.
Sometimes,
and
especially at the beginning.
And it's often very, very funny. So do that. All right. Well, I guess if Kickstarter Corner is the first stop on the end of the show, I guess we're on the penultimate stop now, which is where we show off some of our Geek Gets. Things that are genre oriented that we received, that we bought or received in the last 14 days. Steve, do you have anything?
I have 3 things, and so I'm going to try to be quick. So the first is a T-shirt that I got from our friend Susan, and it lists a whole bunch of different dystopian, usually fascist forward, different works, and then You Are Here right in the middle, which is. Yeah, so pretty much everywhere I've gone where I've worn this shirt, somebody said, "Oh yeah, oh no," which is wonderful. I love. And the other things that I have, and I've waited to open them because why not? Are more of these Wendy's kids meal toys. And look, I got one that I already have. Okay, so disappointment. Now I have 2 flashes. And hopefully this one is also not just Flash. Well, we'll see.
One's Wally, one's Barry.
And now we also have a third Flash.
I can't help you here.
So this is Flash 20 minutes in the past. This is Flash 20 minutes in the future. And then I've got Flash an hour in the past over here somewhere. So I've got a bunch of Flashes. Caleb, do you want a Flash?
Sure.
So I've also been going through the. Do you have another one there?
No, I opened 2 and like both were the same thing.
Both were the same. Oh, I'm sorry. So anyway, because I have multiples, Steve, this is earmarked for you if you don't get a Jon Stewart. So
that's so cool.
You. And naturally, if I get a third Jon Stewart, it's Caleb's. I did get Wonder Woman today.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Invisible Plane. I made up a lie. I lied when I was at the window. I said, "Can you please give me a girl's toy because my granddaughter is a pain in the neck?" And that way I at least got Wonder Woman or Supergirl. I do have Supergirl, I have Superman. Don't have Batman yet, and don't have any of the variants. So I have a feeling the variants are a pipe dream. But
Yeah.
You never know, because they get them in equal numbers. Like I learned this is that if they have 6 Supergirls, then they also have 6 Bizarro Supergirls. But you know,
I don't know.
I guess either
I haven't
they
seen
just
any
all
of
end up
them.
on the top.
I haven't gotten any of them yet. Yeah.
So
And so that's you. Just those. That's what you got. Those 3. Okay.
that's it. That's it.
Okay. Over to Caleb. Caleb, do you have any Geek Gets?
I do. First and foremost, let us take a moment to acknowledge the Cubist flamingo, as it makes its always appearance on here. So my Geek Get is not new, right? It's actually something that I've had for years. I think it was something I've had since I was like 11 years old. But it's back in my possession for the first time, and I actually thought that this was destroyed or thrown away a long time ago. Went down to my family's for Easter and went rummaging back in the back room. Now, for those of you who know me, let me just, I just very quickly. My parents have raised kids since 1984, nonstop, right? So my sister, my brother, they've helped raise my sister's kids. I mean, there's a whole long, and my sister's got a nearly 4-year-old, right? So you got a 22-year-old and a 4-year-old. So long history there. They've always raised kids. So they have an entire room in the back of their house that is just filled with like generations of like different toys for kids and things that we've amassed over the years. It is very cool to go back there every once in a while. It's like a little time capsule. And I find some cool nerd shit from back in the day that I take home every once in a while. I went home for Easter and went back in the back room and looked in a corner, and I found this. This may not look like much to a lot of people, but this is a silver tone guitar.
Oh, nice.
That my grandpa bought in the 1960s out of a Sears and Roebuck catalog. It was the guitar that he taught me what. I'm not a good guitarist by any means, but obviously, if you see the bass in the background, I've got guitars everywhere. I do piddle at it. I enjoy it. I love music, as you heard me talk about before. This was the first instrument that I ever played. This was the first instrument I ever struck a chord on. It's the first anything I ever played with strings. And I thought this was destroyed. As you can see, it's different from a lot of other acoustics. It doesn't have the resonating hole. It's just got the cutouts. I am looking, and I would love to see if this has somewhere a serial number to find out what exactly year it was. But everything about music that makes me kind of flows through this instrument that my grandpa bought out of Sears and Roebucks in either the late 60s or early 70s. So very excited to have this in my hands. A lot of nostalgia to it. The neck's warped. It'll fret out. You can't really play it anymore. So it's going to find a home on my wall as kind of just a conversation piece. But a guitar that's much older than I am and has much more sentimental value than I can ever know what to do with. So that's my Geek Get.
Yeah. It's nice to see, because I think because of Jack White, that when they think of the name Silvertone, they think of, the electric guitars, but they had, they had like numerous acoustics that they sold through the catalog.
Yep.
Through the Sears Roebuck catalog. That is so cool. Nothing's going to beat that this year.
I was very excited to get this. Like this is
very cool.
Yeah, this is a piece of my grandpa back. So now I own 2 guitars that my grandpa had, and that means a lot to me. So
cool. That's really neat.
Yeah,
that is really neat.
Now I got to follow that with my bullshit. All right. Couple. 3 things I'll show. Last year, these have been hard to find, though, at least in my region. But McFarlane Toys had a series of figures that are discounted on sale only at Ross, Dress for Less. And I finally got a DC Reverse Superman. Which is just a fraction of the cost that one of these fuckers goes for. So much cheaper. Also on the cheap side, where are you? I was picking up bananas and distilled water at Target, and I decided to just go into the clearance section. And me being a Stranger Things fan, they did have this very heavily discounted record, the SQK collection. which was compiled by Rockin' Robin. Again, character that went through was like kind of their pirate radio, and it's a series of 70s and 80s songs on
Cool.
vinyl. Very cool.
Huh.
A fraction of what it originally listed for, I will say. I could not pass that up. But the big one I got, you may have seen this over here in the past, which was the Spider-Man set of the DC of the Spider-Man set of the Mego reissues, effectively.
Mhm.
And just a few weeks ago, we got the Avengers came out. So I got Avengers Migos that aren't direct reproductions, though the Hulk is the same size. But of Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Hulk. So this is an Avengers set that was available and remains available, luckily, at the Disney stores in Disney Springs and also Disneyland. But you can also get them at the Disney store online.
Cool.
Hank and Janet just get no respect.
What?
Hank and Janet just get no respect.
Yeah.
Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne.
Oh yeah. Well, that was a time as like Wasp and Yellow Jacket weren't exactly marquee characters. So you have Fantastic Four. The only other character that aren't in this have been in this batch is the Falcon from the stuff. But I have a feeling when they do they're supposed to have, I think, one more release. I'm almost certain it's going to be X-Men, and that'll be
sure.
But yeah.
Just letting Cap roll in, knowing he didn't show up till like issue 9, just as if he's a founding member. It's a bullshit. No respect. No respect for the bugs.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope. That is still probably one of my favorite cartoons of all time. The Bugs Bunny with the buzzard.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mother comes in, it's like, what have you done to my little Keela? Gotta love it. I can't blame it on it being post midnight right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, blame it
Too early to be loopy.
All right, so we are on the final section of an episode of the Comic Book Bears, and that is something we call the Woofs of the Week. In the bear community, if you find a fellow attractive, you woof at him. And we do something very similar here where we woof at something, which may be comic book or comic book related, but may also be a film or a TV program, maybe even a charitable initiative, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener or viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start as I always do with Steve. Steve, what is your woof of the week?
My woof of the week goes out to something that I will be attending in a few weeks' time, and that is the Screams by Night halfway to Halloween Con. That's taking place at The Social, which is an event space in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So I'll be there with a friend of the podcast, John Runyon, and his husband Ken, as well as some friends that I've made in doing the other podcast, Bear Cave of Terror. The two hosts of the Screams from the Basement podcast, Casey and Sam. So they're expecting, some fun guests there. If you are a fan of schlock horror or classic horror from the 80s and 90s, we've got Michelle Bauer and Brinkus Stevens going to be there. And then some new horror hosts and actors, Kelsey Livingood, Steve Livingood, also attending along with a bunch of vendors and some other fun guests. I'm so excited. I'm super looking forward to it. It'll be a ton of fun. Plus I'll get to see some really cool people.
I was going to say,
while I'm there, I get to hang out with John and Ken and Sam and Casey, and it'll be a blast. And that's the 25th, Saturday the 25th, in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at The Social. So come join.
All right, over to Caleb. Caleb, what is your woof of the week?
Well, my woof of the week goes out to a TV show, but I just want to piggyback off of Steve's. I think it's great you're going out there. And then shortly after that, we'll all be together in Charlotte. So I am looking forward to that. But my woof of the week goes out to a new show. It is the it's the new series Big Mistakes, which is debuted on Netflix now, and this is Dan Levy's new sitcom. So the kind of premise of it is Dan is a queer pastor of some type of evangelical church. They don't come out and say what it is, but you can kind of get that it's either a Methodist or an Episcopalian church. Some they wear vestments. It's not Catholic, so you can do the math. His sister he has two sisters. His sister that he is most kind of associated with is a high school teacher, and then he has another sister who is just his mom's favorite child who sucks up and does everything. His mom is played by none other than Laurie Metcalf, and she is a little bit narcissistic person who is also running for public office. So it kind of plays into to what it is. But the long and short of the series is these folks are a dysfunctional family as it is, and grandma dies, which kind of brings them all together and creates its own set of issues as they are trying to say goodbye to the grandma. Meanwhile, in order to make things happen, they are going to fulfill grandmother's one of her last wishes, which is to get a diamond necklace, because she was given a diamond necklace on her honeymoon and she lost it. Well, they go to just like a mom and pop dime store that is being operated by somebody who is Eastern European to some sense, and there's like a cubic zirconium little thing there, and they're like, I want that one. He tells them to fuck off because he's not dealing with them. So the sister steals it. The sister, who's played by Taylor Organa, her name is Morgan. She shoplifts it, thinking it's just a cheap $79 piece of cubic zirconium. Turns out the store is a front. It's a front for the mob to some degree, and they've just stolen a very, very important and pricey bit of jewelry, of which the mafia is not excited about missing, and they track it down, and shenanigans ensue as these two unlikely folks become effectively mules and operators for the mob. And they are not meant for that life. It's great. The writing is super cool. It's super fun. Dan Levy is hilarious in this, as he, as him from Schitt's Creek. This is a little bit darker than Schitt's Creek ever got, but it's still got kind of the same witticisms. He plays a queer character. He plays somebody who's struggling between his faith and his sexuality, and then what that means. The sister should have just been played by Kat Denning. No offense to Taylor Ortega, but Kat Dennings would have been perfect for this role. I love it. It's fun. I think these folks have great chemistry, if you take in the sense that they are supposed to not get along, that they are very different people who are only bound by blood. They don't particularly like each other, but they love each other, and they hate each other for what they put each other through. So I am on board for this. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. So check it out on Netflix. It's called Big Mistakes.
Nice.
On my
Okay. You guys just faded out for a second. Sorry about that.
Oh,
It was just surprising me because we had no tech issues until now.
No.
That's nice.
I
Okay,
didn't see it.
okay, cool. So for my Wolf of the Week, it's tied into why we are recording on Sunday, because on Thursday night when we usually record, I was at a concert. I went out to the Tilly Center on Long Island University's campus to see "Wish You Were Here." The Pink. I can't say if you can zoom in, you have to say this: the sight and sound of Pink Floyd. That's how they are built. You can't say the Pink Floyd experience. You can't say anything else. And since last year marked 50 years since the "Wish You Were Here" album came out, they've been doing a series of concerts, performing the album in full, and also other songs from Pink Floyd. If you see from the graphic here, this was a very impressive production. Now, the bass player and leader of the group is my friend Eric Sosinski. Eric is a longtime fixture in the Cleveland rock scene. He was the bass player for Michael Stanley for a number of years. Also was a fixture on radio, and he's the head honcho behind this. And they've been touring various parts of the states, going well beyond Cleveland. In Cleveland, they play like a 10,000 seater and sell it out. with the show, but this was over at the Tilly Center in Long Island. There's also a very sentimental connection with this particular date and this particular show, because 3 years earlier at the same venue, the band's drummer had a heart attack on stage. And during the breaks between the show, the drummer brought up all the first responders and the staff at the hospital, because he was in the cardiac ICU for about 3 weeks with this, and he's doing fine. He recently retired from his job and is doing music full time now. And if you can just go to some of the other pictures here, Steve, there's me with Eric, and with some of the free swag I luckily got. I got Wish You Were Here sunglasses. I got an awesome tie-dyed shirt, and he's here too. This is Ziffel, the Pink Floyd pig. If you know the lore about Pink Floyd, to promote the Animals album, they had inflatable animals at Battersea Station, and the pig flew away. That pig was named Algie. This pig is named Ziffel. So I got Ziffel, and it was a great experience. Eric's a fantastic guy, and if Pink Floyd is your thing, the musicianship is incredible. 10-piece. There's like 19 people on the payroll. It's a really, really impressive production, and
Cool.
If that's your thing, yeah, you definitely should go sample that.
Awesome.
That's my Woof of the Week.
Lovely.
All right, we got another one in the can. Steve, what number is this? What number show?
This is, oh my God, 300 and something.
Because we're halfway to Evil soon. We're going to be at 333 very soon.
This is 331 of our numbered episodes, and that's not including some of the specials that we've done and some other things that didn't get counted.
Yeah,
but yeah, this is 331 officially.
Yeah. Okay. Halfway to Evil.
Halfway to Evil. Almost.
Evil. We'll have to do a very evil show, a very macabre show.
Or half evil.
Yeah. We'll do it like half horror books, half like all ages books.
Actually, hey, that's a good idea.
That works.
All right. Again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on most social media as Comic Book Bears. You can find us on Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. If you want to listen to us, please do so by downloading us through Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to us through Spotify and many of the other podcatching platforms. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. And if you want to view us, we have our YouTube channel. If you joined us through one of the live feeds tonight, thank you. But all of those video episodes over the past 6 years at this point are archived on our YouTube page. And, if you do enjoy this, please like and subscribe. We love doing this. Ain't for the money. So thank you for joining us for these last 2 hours, and hope to see you again soon. Yay. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Mwah.